How much time did you spend maintaining your sniper rifle overseas?
A lot of time. I spent more time painting it than actually. Well, I cleaned it after every mission. Almost after every mission, I would shoot the weapon. I wouldn't necessarily shoot someone, but it was either suppressive fire, warning shot, shoot out a light bulb, or something like that. But I would clean it every day, not to the extent of, I would shoot it a few mags or run through 3 or 4 mags or something like that. Then I would do like a really, really good clean. My biggest fear was having my gun jam. And there were so many targets out there that I would feel like I was missing out on the party and letting a lot of people down. So I made sure my gun was clean and lubed up the way it should have been. And, the paint job was 110%.
Yeah.
And it would get scratched up all the time. But
yeah.
Had a solid 5 pounds of paint, I think.
No shit. And you just keep painting over it, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
From, as an outsider now, what's been harder, being an author or a ranger?
Oh, man. Are these questions from
Geez,
that's a good one. Wow.
Yeah, every one of these questions I've asked so far, other than a couple that I've thrown in, are from folks off of either Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook.
I would say being an author is way harder. And that comes because it's so much more mental than anything else. The physical stuff, you can push through that to a certain point in selection or being a ranger or anything like that. But the mental, pressure that you get from getting an idea, making that idea into paragraphs that form a story and be able to make sense is one of the hardest. And of course, is like for me in the military to criticize my guys, it wouldn't be so much criticism. It would just be ways to get better, and starting off being open and vulnerable with the first book, seeing a negative review like almost made me want to quit because I had never experienced that sort of criticism before. Yeah. So getting over that and to continue going on, knowing that there are going to be people who don't like certain things, I've learned to accept that. But it's still, to this day, is still kind of like, I strive for perfection so much that if it's not perfect, and I feel like it wasn't it. I'll always beat myself up, even if it's one bad review out of a million. That one would be, well, I have to fix that to make it perfect. Yeah. And then the next one comes out, and someone else has a different opinion. Yeah. So it's chasing a essentially a high that you'll never get,
Yeah. It is interesting, the public persona or the perception when you talk about ego getting a negative review. Similarly, is that, it's interesting when you think of the time that we spent in the military. Like if somebody is critical of what you do and how you do it, the way that they approach it is in your, face to face. Here's the fucking problem I have with you. And what irritates me about social media is that because the one thing that you always know, and the reason there's a certain amount of assumed respect between comrades fighting, even if you fucking hate each other, is that you still respect what you've been through and where you're at and what you're capable of. But there's always, and Jordan Peterson does a phenomenal job speaking to this element, which I'm about to cover, which is there's always the threat of it being pushed to that next level where we're going to fight, and so because of that, there's a certain element of civility, but it exists only because that you both understand that there's a certain point where we're not going to talk anymore, and violence will ensue. And there's an absence of that in social media. There's no accountability. So somebody can sit on their phone or behind their computer screen, in their parents' basement with a corn cob shoved up their ass, eating Krispy Kreme, telling you how big of a fuck up you are with no accountability. And they'll say things to you and they'll type things about you that they would never, ever fucking dream of saying if they were sitting where we're sitting like this.
Dude, I was doing a live feed one day, not too long ago, probably a month. And on the comment, how it pops up, some guy called me a porch monkey. And it took me a second. I was like, what does that even mean? I've never, it's been like 20 years since I've even heard of that. And the one time I did hear about it was like on a comedy show or something like that by Richard Pryor. I forget who it was by, but I was told it was bad, but I've never been called that. And I thought about it, and I wanted to, say something back, but I didn't. I was just thinking, like, dude, there would be zero chance
Yeah.
I'm a nice guy. I've changed to be, hey, dude, I love everything. You know what I mean? I'm a tree hugger, So
Especially those green trees.
Yeah, those green ones. But there's also that side that I think people tend to forget, that, there's that other side, you know what I mean? That there's no coming back from. And I wouldn't think twice. And there's that side where I just don't fucking care. You know, there's no jail or prison that could punish me more than what I've already been through.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And to me, that's one of the most frustrating things about the internet technology, social media is that lack of accountability. They
should put a chapter called social media in the book on killing.
Yeah.
If you read that and it's like the separation of, how you feel from a sniper to a mortar guy to an assaulter, there's that social media aspect where you have the internet, and Wi-Fi, that long connection, that disconnect that I can sit here and talk shit and nothing will happen until I find that IP address.
Yeah, no shit. That's fucking great. Speaking, kind of similarly to that, has anyone since you've been out judged you or looked down at you because of what you've done overseas as a sniper, as a ranger, a military guy, generally speaking?
No. No, I don't. To be honest, dude, I honestly think that people can't. I don't look like the typical spec ops guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not intentionally, but you just don't see too many black guys with that job title, and especially a sniper or something like that. All my idols that I looked at were, Carlos Hathcock, and they were all white guys, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, Carlos is my idol to this day.
Yeah.
But I've never been looked at differently. It's when someone finds out, they're kind of like, oh, wow, I never would have expected that. Mm-hmm. Or their next question would be, well, how are you now? Do you have the PTSD? I'm like,
the PTSD.
I don't have the PTS.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting the stereotype that exists, I guess, in that, and you bringing that up. Has anyone treated you differently after becoming successful?
Yeah.
Like, whether it's good or bad, I guess. Have there been instances where it's like, oh, your money's no good here, like you get kind of spoiled, or have there been people that have slighted you because of it, or what?
Both. I would say more on the bad side than good.
Really?
Yeah. And that's just from and I don't blame people for that like I would I would used to. Mm-hmm. I just think that it comes from a time in their life where they may not be happy, and they see something on the outside. Perception's also everything. Everything that I post up and everything that people see, it's all perception. Most of the time perception. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't put too much of my personal life out there. Stuff that I have going on, of course, but the work that goes in behind it, all the tears behind that to see the cool stuff that goes on social media, dude, there's like 100 million tears that have been shed, nights that have been, dude, like pretty much out before every book that comes out. There's that stage of, I call it slight depression, but it's not that. It's more or less anxiety and a lack of sleep. Days without sleep, a lot of, rereading things. I wish I could have done this, wish I could have done that. But, dude, I just honestly think it's just people who are unhappy with where they're at in life, and they see where I am and are not happy about it. Yeah. I think that it happened overnight, but dude, I'm no different than anybody else. There's just a lot of hard work, and I'm not a quitter. Like, I can't go back to where I was, and that's something that if I could have that whole thing tattooed on me, I would. I can't go back to where I was. I have a kid now, and I would never ever want him to see what I had to see growing up as a kid. Dad or mom crying over bills and stuff like that, and I don't know if we're gonna be able to do this and do that, and it wasn't fun. And then getting out, losing my vehicle, almost losing the home and stuff like that. I don't want my son to ever have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And dude, I'd rob a bank, and that's 100% without a doubt. If you see, hey, black guy robbed a bank, good. Yeah. It'd be me.
Yeah.
It'd be me.
Yeah.
I can't go back to that, man. It's just
So, I mean, I know I've certainly experienced some of that too, where it is odd how, people I've never even met seem to fucking hate me or want to see you fail.
They hate themselves, man.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
It's weird, It's like people that fuck, I don't even know who you are, and you're saying I'm a motherfucker, and
Right.
they just like they want any reason to watch, your house of cards fall down, and it's just
They want to see you slip up and also make that one mistake. And dude, I've noticed with social media that some of the negative comments, people just want attention. Social media in itself is an attention platform, Do people really care that you're on vacation every day of the week? Probably not. But you put it out there, not saying it's a bad thing. If you want to share your experience, I think everyone should do that. But then it gets to the point to where, let's be honest, we're showing the world what we're doing for a reason, and we expect something in return out of that. That's just human nature.
Yeah.
But then it gets to the point where people want that same attention and they'll display it by saying or doing something negative, just begging for attention. It's like a little kid, They'll scream and shout for attention, and some shit on themselves for attention. Neither one of those may not be right, but it's going to get some type of attention.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking for.
Yeah.